for you guys, and then we're going to basically start over like last class never didn't happen because there was no other class last time. Okay, so this chapter is on hard drives. It's chapter 7. What happened in chapter 6? Skip chapter 6 because it was on floppy drives. Because how many people use a floppy drive anymore?
Every now and then.
Really, that's kind of sad. So nobody rose their hand. No, okay, because most people don't use floppy drives anymore. We use USB drives, right?
Well, I mean, when floppy drives aren't working.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so like most of the time computers don't come with floppy drives anymore. Yeah, it's a special order item. It used to be floppy drive was standard. In fact, my first computer I had no hard drive. It had 2 floppy drives. Okay, I was ahead of the times though. Mine had 2 3.5-inch floppy drives, whereas when I first started in PCs, like this IBM PC over here, they had 2 5 1/4 floppy drives. You know why they're called floppy drives?
Because they're floppy.
Because they were
Floppy. They used to be floppy. Now the
stuck
industry
in here
changed them.
because they were floppy, right? And they still are. Inside of 3.5, it's still floppy. It's just got a rigid case on the outside. This is original IBM PC over here, by the way. Bought it at a garage sale for 25 cents, but just because I wanted to have original IBM PC. Okay, so we're talking about hard drives today, though, so that's why we skipped chapter 6. The case of time with all the snow days, I really didn't feel it was necessary to go over chapter 6 and floppy drives. So, kind of covered this, but I want to cover it again. What's the purpose of a hard drive? What is it? What is it? Is it primary or secondary storage?
Secondary
Okay, so
storage.
first of all, a hard drive is secondary storage. Secondary to what?
To the primary storage known as the memory or volatile.
Okay, secondary, but who accesses it as secondary storage?
You know, the CPU.
Yeah, CPU. It's secondary. Okay, now to us, it's primary storage. Okay, not to confuse. This is where we save our stuff, right?
Yeah.
Hard drive is where we save our stuff. It's secondary storage to the CPU because the CPU's primary storage is memory, and things get swapped out to the secondary storage of the CPU. So it's where stuff is stored.
Gotta store the stuff.
Permanently. And permanent in the PC world means it doesn't go away when power goes off. It doesn't mean it can't be deleted, it can't be lost. It's as permanent as it can be on a PC, right? What's the biggest thing that we store on a hard drive? Biggest, most important thing is the OS, okay? No matter what the OS is, generally it's loaded on a hard drive because we go through the BIOS and it looks to see what the boot order is, and it loads the operating system and hands off control of the operating system, we know from chapter 1. So the operating system is one of the most important things on a hard drive. Okay, so the speed of this hard drive is definitely going to impact the speed that the operating system starts up. If we have a crappy old hard drive, it's going to load slow, no matter how nice our CPU and our memory is. Okay, what else is stored on the hard drive?
Data.
Okay, stores our data.
Bits and bytes. You know, ones and
And
zeros.
to get to that data, we also have
drivers,
programs.
programs.
Yeah.
Which
know,
you said,
all
because
those.
drivers are programs that make hardware work, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so on our hard drive we have our operating system. The purpose of the operating system is to give us interface to the programs, which then in turn give us interface with our data. So we boot up Windows 7 so we can get to Microsoft Office so we can write our paper, which is our data. Okay, so primary purpose
I love it.
of the hard drive is to store our stuff. Okay, it is our storage container, and it is very important. Okay, so and everything has to. Shouldn't say that. Not every PC has to have a hard drive. Okay, you could have your operating system run off a CD and save your stuff to a flash drive, but that's not standard, right? Standard is standard PCs that we have. We have some kind of hard drive that all of our stuff runs from. And then we have some place to store, which is usually the hard drive itself. In the case of here, we save it to a hard drive where?
Hard drive.
If I say save your stuff to your H drive, are you saving it to a hard drive?
No.
Certainly you're saving it to a hard drive.
Yeah, but
you're saving
often
it to you're right, you're saving it to a hard drive on Trail 4, which is a server that's get backed up all the time. That's why we save it there, so you have accessibility from whatever room you're at. That's why we use network drives. It's still a hard drive. Okay?
It's not on our machine.
It's a big hard drive.
A big one.
Okay, so that's the purpose. Objective 1. Questions on Objective 1. purpose is to store our stuff. Okay, so it's important that we keep it in shape, that it's fast, and we're going to talk about it later, but one of the other things we want to make sure we do is try to back up our stuff if we can, and that's why we save stuff to Trail 4 for you guys, Trail 2 for the staff. Okay, there are different servers that store different things, but we try to keep those things backed up. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to go over, and I know we talked about it last time, was the physical size. And when I talk about size, I'm talking both physical size and capacity. When I talk physical size, the laptop and a desktop hard drives are different physical sizes. And I had some of them out here the other day. There's a desktop/server-sized hard drive, and here is a laptop-sized hard drive. Okay. So when we're looking at sales stuff, we need to make sure we're buying what we really want to be buying. And that happens every single time we do the research project. Somebody presents a laptop drive for their desktop system. Okay? Now, you don't want to do that because in general, laptop drives are slower than desktop drives, where we'd all just use them. Okay? So when we talked about this, I don't think there's a picture. Yeah, there is a picture. Okay, there we go. So there's a desktop drive, and I said that the physical size of this is what? Do you remember?
3.5 inches.
3.5 inches. Why is it in inches? I have no idea, because we started off a long time ago in inches. I should be metric, but whatever. So it's 3.5 inches wide. They're not all the same thickness. You'll see some drives that are way thinner than other drives. There's no standard thickness size, but all the screws line up the same for a 3.5 inch drive. So whether your 3.5 inch drive is that thickness that you've got right there, or let's see if I can find a thinner one. Here's a thinner one. Or a thinner 3.5 inch drive, doesn't really matter. The screw holes all line up the same, and they'll all fit in your PC. Okay, so 3.5 inches. And I'm going to call that a regular desktop / server drive. Okay, it's 3.5 inches. Make sure we understand that. Okay, so then a laptop drive is smaller.
2.5 inches.
And it's 2.5 inches.
You didn't even ask a question, Thomas.
Yeah, but he was ready to go. It's 2.5 inches wide. That distance from here to here is 2.5 inches. So there's a 2.5 inch drive. You can see I've got an adapter on it to give it that additional inch to fit it into a desktop. Why? Because this laptop drive is still way faster than some other ones. Okay? And that isn't to say that there aren't times that we put 2.5 inch drives in our PCs. Okay? We're going to talk about the different kinds of drives. In fact, here's the two different kinds of setup drives right here. I've got these two different connectors. This is a solid state drive. Okay? We're going to talk about the spinny parts of a hard drive here today, but this one has no spinny parts. Now, I've never seen a solid state drive that came in a 3.5 inch form factor. They all come in 2.5 inches. Okay? I could be wrong. You may be able to find one that doesn't. Most of them are 2.5. That doesn't mean they're made for a laptop. They're made for anything, because it doesn't matter, because there's no moving parts, right? So why not just make it 2.5 so it fits in everything, and then you can get a little adapter like this one that actually comes with them. These come with these drives, so you can use it in anything, which is really nice, because we get all those adapters for free. Because when I did it before, the first set I bought didn't have adapters, and then I had to order these adapters, which I don't really like, but oh well. Okay, so they're 2.5 inches. That usually means it's for a laptop. I'm going to caveat it unless it's a solid state drive. Okay, solid state drive all come in 2.5 inch sizes just so they can be used in either one. So this is really basic stuff that I want you to understand, because when you are looking and researching for your stuff, you need to make sure you're looking for the right size. So if you're looking for a solid state, you're only going to find it in 2.5s or card slot ones. They have ones that actually plug into the cards of the PC, so that on solid state drives, you actually have solid state drives that actually just plug in right to a PCI slot to give them faster performance, apparently, for some applications. Okay, so those are the sizes, our physical sizes. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so I got 3.5, I got 2.5, Okay, it's kind of like SODIMMs and DIMMs when we talked about memory. You need to make sure you have the right size for the right job. Okay. Okay. Objective number 3 is understand how we connect them, and I'm going to say that there are 2 different kinds. Okay, we've got PATA or parallel ATA connectors, and we've got SATA connectors or serial ATA connectors, and those are the 2 different kinds of cables. When we talk about PATA, you're going to hear it referred to as IDE or EIDE or PATA. Any of those 3 things are talking about the same thing. E stands for enhanced IDE. Okay, but anyway, so this connection is all PATA or IDE connection, and that's the older way. And we're going to spend a little time talking about how to do it, just so you'll understand if you ever look at an older drive. Because this one, in relation to this one, that's like a 1-minute conversation. Because PATA or SATAs are so easy to hook up, so hard to mess up. And these are so hard to mess up, so easy to mess up. Sorry, I said it backwards. Okay, so you need to make sure you understand how to do that. So we're going to go through the different connections. So on the interfaces, the one we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about the PATA or parallel ATA connection. In all these slides it talks about IDE interfaces because our book is old enough that although SATA was around, it didn't even mention it. Okay, so I have a bunch of slides on this. The cable itself, an IDE cable, and that's why it's called an IDE drive, because it's an IDE cable, okay, has, my finger smashed, has 40, or in the case of an enhanced cable, 80 wires.
Wires.
In the cable. So when I look at these 2 cables, the plugs are the same. They both have 40 holes at the end. Actually, this one doesn't have the blocked out one, but so they both have 40 holes at the end. They both have 40 wires, but this is an IDE cable. See how they're thick? And this is an enhanced IDE cable. See the difference there? This one has 80 wires going through it. This has 40. They hook up exactly the same. This is a faster cable than this one. Okay, so if I was hooking one, if I had these 2 computers these 2 cables in my computer, and I had one of them hooked to my hard drive and one of them hooked to my CD-ROM, they both hook up the same. Which one do you think I'd hook up to which?
I would hook the express to the CD-ROM.
What do you think, Thomas, who's smarter than...
Could you re-say that?
If I had one of these cables hooked up to my CD-ROM and one of them hooked up to my hard drive, which one would I hook up to which? He just said he'd put the faster one on his CD-ROM.
I put the faster one for the hard drive.
You put the faster one for the hard drive. Hard drives are way faster, right?
I'm running my operating
Yes.
system.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you want the faster cable on the faster device. So if your choice was between these 2, you always want the enhanced cable, the faster 80-pin cable, always, 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 to your hard drive.
I'm
you do
running
not
my
want to,
OS on a CD.
Yeah. Okay. So you put your faster one on the enhanced. So on this one, it's showing a 40-pin IDE cable, and I'm showing you also the enhanced 80-pin IDE cable there. Basically, it just goes from the motherboard to the hard drive, okay? And these are older hard drives, and usually you see them look like this. Usually, if it's differently colored, that's the one that they intended you to plug into the motherboard, okay? And the other one's to the other side, so it would be something as easy as plugging this in here and then plugging in that into the motherboard. Now, the problem with IDEs is it's not that simple, okay? You don't just plug it, it's not plug in and go, okay?
It's not plug and go.
Oh, here's some things on IDE speeds as we came in through ATA, and they got faster and faster and faster, and they got all the way up to 133 megabits per second, megabytes per second, and that's with an 80-pin enhanced IDE connector. Had to have the 80-pin connector, you couldn't get this fast. They're back here on the 40s in order to get up that right here, okay? So you had to have the faster cable to get the faster connection type, so you always want the better 80-pin cable on your device, okay? So, and there's a picture of an 80 and a 40, just like I just showed you there. The difference between the two, you want to, this one is definitely for slower devices, and this one is for faster, which is not to say that you can't put one of these on the CD-ROM. You can. If you have two, using two faster ones is fine. But if you have one and one, you want to make sure one's on the faster, and one's in the right one's on the faster, and the right one's on the slower. Okay, so here's a picture of the serial ITA. There's almost no configuration with that. You just plug the one cable in to the motherboard and the other one into the power. I need a picture. Let me add a picture.
I love it.
Picture.
CMOS. SAT.
Okay, so here's a nice picture of the two different kinds of connectors, the SATA and the PATA connector. Okay, I'll use red here. So here's my SATA connector down here, or my PATA connector, and I plug my 40-pin ribbon cable in here. And here's my SATA connector, and I plug my SATA cable in, the smaller one right here. Okay, and then I have this 12-volt power connection. It looks completely different. Still takes 12 volts. Okay, it's still a 12-volt power connector. And the power connector I showed you last time in class looks a little different. Okay, this is a SATA power connector, and then we should have a power supply out here. I've got to bring it. Oh wait, no, that one didn't have a thing on the power connector. And pull one out without hitting myself on the head.
Do not hit yourself on the head. That's not good. Not good. Opposite of.
Okay, so here's our standard Molex power connector right there. And if I don't have one for SATA, I could buy this adapter for $1 on
19
eBay.
cents.
Okay, on eBay, probably with free shipping to put in. Okay. Now, if I do this, I still have to be cognizant of my total power output right on my power supply, which we learned how to calculate back in Chapter 3. So I can't put an unlimited number of hard drives. In fact, they pull some of the most amount of power. You can't just keep throwing hard drive and think, oh, I got enough plugs. That doesn't mean you have enough power. But just so you realize they hook up the same. So SATAs are easy hookups. SATA's got, that's a no-brainer. All it is one cable, there's one end, and when I look at the motherboard, the only thing I really have to know about SATA is I have to look and make sure I plug it in where I want. And the motherboard has stuff on it that says, if I look real closely, let me find my SATA connectors. This one only has 2 SATA connectors right here, and it says SATA 0, and it says, look, there's a spot right there for SATA 1, they didn't put the plug on, and there's SATA 2, and there's a spot for SATA 3, didn't put the plug on. So the motherboard was made to take 4 SATAs, they just didn't feel like soldering on SATA connector. It's really funny, I never noticed that till today. Okay, so if I was going to hook up my hard drive with my operating system, would I put it on 0 or 2?
2.
0.
0, okay? You always start with the lowest number. You always start with the lowest number. So if you've got a bunch of SATA ports, like you'll look at your motherboards when you go back and look at them, and you could have 6 SATA ports. Put your operating system on 0, unless your thing says that these are different size speed ports, and I don't know that these are. But many times you'll see different colored ports because they're different speeds. And you probably want to put your hard drive on the fastest port, which may not be 0, but you want to check your manual, okay?
Check the manual.
Check the manual. So all it is plugging it in, really, really easy, okay? Now, there is a right and a wrong way. See the little kind of L in there?
There is an L.
See the little L? And you gotta look and see the little L there. I gotta make sure I match it up, and then I'll plug in fine. Don't try to do it the other way. You can push all you want to, and it will never go on there, but you could definitely break the plastic of the motherboard, and that would be bad. Okay? So if it isn't going in really easy, you might want to try again. Some of these cables, while we're talking about cables, have something that manufacturers like, and I personally hate. Ooh, this one. Why is this one even in this pile? Look at that cable, Thomas. Oh, I think that's a good cable for me to have in the stack of cables over here.
No, it does not look safe at all.
No, I don't even know why that's over here. It's totally frayed. Okay, I can't find one.
It could cause a
Some of them have locks on them. You'll see a little metal bracket right here. It actually locks on the hard drive or on the motherboard, and you have to squeeze it to pull it out. So I'm telling you that because if you're ever taking out a SATA drive, don't just try to yank as hard as you can, just pull it from the cable to yank it out. Because if it has those little squeeze ends on it that lock it, that would be really bad, okay? And I say that because Mr. Poole has broken a motherboard before, not realizing that.
That's weird. Feedback lock.
Hey, whoa.
Look at this Iron Man flash drive.
80 degrees Celsius is the maximum operating temperature.
A little squeezy metal clip that's part of the end of the bracket that locks it on there. And if you have one, make sure you look closely. Wait, is there one right here? No. No, that is not. I do not see one in my entire box. That is not in there. I will have to find you one. Okay, just believe me. Make sure you squeeze the end. Oh, there's one on that side right there. Okay, look.
It's a lock.
Okay, that's what that is for right there. Okay, so if you put, is there a SATA drive here? Okay, so here's our SATA drive. If I put that in there, it does not come out. And you can break it, and all you have to do is squeeze that, okay? So make sure you look, don't just yank. That's all that is to it. So we will keep this cable. I might even cut off this end so that no one can try to use it.
I just get some electrical tape.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
that usually helps.
that's that. Just make sure you look to see if there's one of those connectors on there, okay? So cabling is different, power voltage cable is different, but you can get an adapter to make it work, okay? So when it comes to IDE, we already said SATA simple. Okay, just look, however many SATA connectors there are, that's how many SATA drives you can have. And they can have different speeds on them. You have to look at your manual to see different colors generally mean different speeds, although it can also mean that they're grouped together for a SCSI, for a RAID connection, which we'll talk about later, okay? So here's the IDE connector right here. This one has 2 on the motherboard, okay? Meaning that I can get 2 cables. 2 cable means how many drives?
2.
2 cables
One.
means 4 drives.
Means
Because
4.
each cable
Yeah.
has 2 connectors on it.
Well, I thought that we were
No.
talking about the one that was
Two
just
cables.
a slave.
This headache.
Thought we were
Okay.
talking just on the master.
Fusion.
If we're talking IDE or PATA,
Oh, we're still on SATA.
I switched. That's why I made a circle around
Yeah,
it.
but you know. You
So
said
for
cable.
every
Yeah.
cable, I can get 2 devices. So how many devices can I plug into this motherboard?
6.
4. CJ, stop confusing me. Come on.
Just looking at the ones I've circled there, okay? Just
I
looking at the
gotcha.
ones I've circled.
Thomas,
Okay,
leave
so
that.
and that's what we started talking last class about this master-slave relationship, okay? So on a cable, and these are 2 different cables, there has to be a master device and a slave device. Now, there doesn't have to be either one, but they can't both be the same. So I could have one thing plugged in that's the master with no slave. But if I have 2, one has to be master and one has to be slave. And we do that through jumpers, okay?
This guy.
And on the, let's see if I can get it, where's the little picture tool so I can clone, which one's that right there? Okay, let's see, we'll do the little circle. I'm gonna do the circle. That. How do I clone? What's the?
Copy and paste.
No, there's a clone command. Clone is Control D.
Control D.
D.
Uh-oh.
D. 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 D.
Hold
D.
it.
It's making a diagonal line. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you know what? I just changed my mind.
Throwing it all off now. Go on.
Uh-oh.
CJ.
Does that look like it's on top of each other?
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
Basically or definitely?
Yeah. Yeah.
Highlight both of them and clone that.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Control D.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
I shouldn't
You
have done
froze
that.
them.
Oh. It's locked. Oh.
Unlock. Lock it. Unlock.
Okay, I wanna group them though. Is what I'm trying to do.
Oh.
Group.
Grouping.
Group.
Group.
And now I wanna D. D. D.
I hate D. It's horrible.
I gotta save this so I don't have to do it again.
Don't do it again.
Does that look
Be a
like they're
waste
on
of
the same
Well, I mean,
plane?
kind of.
This one looks a little higher.
Kind of looks off, but you know.
Now put that
We're
in the
human.
group.
We make mistakes.
How's that look? That looks pretty good.
Yeah, good enough.
Well,
You know,
kind of like a small little
Oh,
downhill
you're
slope.
killing me, Smalls.
we get the idea.
Nope, that's not
Get
that's
an
not
idea.
acceptable.
Oh gosh.
Group all that now.
Oh wow, look at him using the line as a reference for making things even.
I think the first two are too far apart.
I'm gonna smack you.
CJ, stop.
Now
Come on.
group that.
Grouping. Oh.
Look at that. Look at that.
Is that supposed to be a...
These are our jumpers.
What am I looking at? Right?
Okay, so on the back of an IDE drive there are jumpers, and I will be honest, sometimes there's another odd one out here. We're gonna act like it's out here, but we'll ignore that. Okay, so on the back of the drive there are jumpers. I'm gonna look at the picture of this drive back here, and that's what I'm talking about right there. See those pins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right there.
Yep.
There's those on the. Those are the jumpers on the back
Jumpers.
of them, and in order to use a pin, now there's a little pin on the back. What you do is you put it around like this to activate that jumper. If it is going like this, it is doing nothing but storing the pin so that you have someplace to keep it when you need it. Okay? So if you look at the back of a drive, like this one, and it's going up and down, it's doing something. If it was in and going side to side, I'm not going to say any of these are going side to side because I may not be. Look, that one has 2 sets of jumpers. It's doing something. Now, you have to set the jumpers so one is master and one is slave. And the only way to do that is to find a description of how to set them up. There is no, unfortunately, standard of how to set up the jumpers. It's not like, hey, everybody here is master, it's here, it's slave, it's there, it's cable. Oh, by the way, there's a third option that I have not mentioned. Okay?
The diagonal.
No, there's not. We can set up as master, as slave, or as cable select.
Oh, that's the thing. On
Okay? So this one usually has an M and an S and a CS, if you see an acronym somewhere. Cable select means the cable chooses who's the boss. That's the easiest way to set something up. Okay? If they both work on cable select. And on cable select, the thing on the end is master, and the thing here is slave. So if I'm both on cable select, I plug it in here, I just plugged it in to make it master, and look right here what it's got on the cable. Disk 1, disk 2. That's what that lower thing's supposed to be. Okay? So the end is master. Master's on top. Okay? And then is the slave. The master is on the end, the slave's in the middle. If you use cable select, not all devices work with cable select. Not all devices work together on cable select. Cable select is a great thing to try initially. And if it doesn't work, many times you have to do this. Plus, what happens if the hard drive only fits to this one, and the CD-ROM only fits to that one? Lengthwise, that happens. Okay? when we go and we put these in here, these computers right here only have one IDE connector. Okay? We put the CD-ROM right here and the hard drive right here. There's no way to do it any other way. We'll put the CD-ROM here and the hard drive here. So cable select doesn't work. You have to put it on master-slave. Okay? You have to with that particular computer. Okay? Which, by the way, most likely you're going to be fixing a GX280 this year. Just so you know. It's your final exam. It's going to be GX280.
Is it good you can move us back?
Why? Does it make you nervous?
Yeah.
I'm going to walk by and...
Then they fall.
Ah! Okay, I need a glass of water.
Okay. What? Come on, Thomas. Stop being a putz.
Just for you, Thomas, we're going to leave just like that. Just so it bothers you the rest of the day. You're going to turn around. No.
Every time he hears that noise.
Look around. It could be... Just believe me, it's not going to fall all the way towards you. Okay, so I got master, I got slave, I got cable select, and I got these jumpers. But hard drive's not working. It could be as simple as the jumpers are set wrong, okay? Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, I got to... Control K. L. I want to add this to my slide. That's why I'm doing that. Jumpers.
A jumper.
Control K. Okay, there we go. Now I can't erase those. Okay, so when I do this, I have to make sure they're set right to make sure things work. So how do I find how to set the jumpers? I have to look. Now, in some cases, in fact, I have a picture of one. Let me just go ahead and since I got chapter 7 up. Some cases, it's right on, nope, not on that one. Can't read it on that one. What am I doing? Here, I'm going to pull up an image of a hard drive. Hard drive. Images, see if we can get a nice one of the top of the hard drive that we can actually read. Let's see if we can read that one. Nope, that's it. Oh, you know what? We need to do, well, we have to be more specific. I need to make sure I'm saying it's a PETA hard drive. So that we get one, there we go. There's a, let's see if this image is good enough.
It's a bit.
I don't know. There, you can barely see it right there. Is that? You can barely see it right there. Let me see if I can find a better one.
Back to the Future.
Oh, now I can see.
And that one, you see that the diagram right there? Sometimes they have them right on top of the hard drives, and sometimes they don't. That one, read that diagram.
Do not cover this hole.
No, okay, so there's no diagram here, and then there's this crazy diagram on the back here. My point is, it's a crazy diagram. This one, however, is a really easy diagram to read.
Okay, this freaking me out.
What am I reading?
The jumper diagram right there in front of you.
Oh, okay. I see.
See if I can find.
What do jumpers even do? Have we gone over that?
That's what we are going over. They set whether they're master or slave. That's all they do.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
That's all they do.
Is they set who's master and who's slave. That's it.
They don't do anything else.
They don't do anything else.
At
I
all.
thought they would have done something.
That's no. That's all they do.
That's all they do. Okay.
That is
That's
the
it.
extent of what they do.
Wow.
Wow, who would have known?
Okay? That's it.
I do now.
All they do is tell the cable and the motherboard what they are, whether they're master and slave. Okay, this one has no diagram whatsoever on the top. Okay, no diagram here, but if you look underneath, it says CS, slave, and master. So I just have to read that and say it's set up for cable select right now, and you can see it right there too. It says CS, SL, and MA. Thomas isn't looking at where I'm pointing. You see where I'm pointing right there? MA, SL, and CS right there. Can you see it on the black?
Yeah.
Sometimes we really have to look to find that diagram of where that's set up, okay? So again, all this is for is to tell you how to set it up. So I've got, on this one, I've got CS, SL, and MA on that one, okay? So if I want it to be cable select, I put the jumper over it this way. If I want it to be slave, I put it on there. If I want it to be master, I put it on there. Okay, there's also one other setup. Western Digital hard drives like to use one called single. In other words, it's the only thing on the cable. And a lot of times with Western Digital drives, they won't work if they're alone if you don't put them on single. Okay, this one doesn't say anything about a single drive. It says it's enhanced IDE drive. It says nothing else. Okay, so I would use one of those connections. But if the top of it says single blah, it's saying if it's the single only thing on that cable, that's how you set it up. Okay, and a lot of times single is nothing, which means you put it in that way. You don't throw away the thing, you just put it in sideways and it doesn't do anything. Okay, very likely you're going to have an IDE drive in your computer, because if I'm going to break something, I'm going to break an old IDE drive. I'm not going to break a new SATA drive. Plus, this is trickier. If it's in like this, and you've got two things in the cable, is it going to work? No. All the jumpers do is set up this relationship. That's all they do. And in BIOS, you'll see something say primary IDE master, primary IDE slave. It could say disk 0, disk 1. Depends on the BIOS. Okay, your hard drive with your should be on primary or secondary?
Should be on primary.
Should be primary. Okay, you want your hard drive to be on primary, and if it's got two cables, you want to separate them. You want to give the hard drive its own cable to go as fast as it can, and you want to put the CD-ROM on the secondary one. Okay, and in these computers, we put the hard drives on SATA and the CD-ROMs on PATA.
So if I have a primary and a secondary IDE channel, I would still have to put the CD-ROM on slave, right? Are they separate? No, that can be master too.
No, it can be the master on the secondary, and the hard drive can be the master on the primary. Okay, good question. So yeah, it's just something has to be master and slave, but if you got two channels, you want them on separate channels because then they both run faster. Plus, they run the speed of the slowest thing on the cable on some older motherboards. Not all motherboards, and some older motherboards. So if you put them together here, you would actually be slowing down your computer. Whereas if you put one here and one here, which is the optimum, 1 and 1, they both are masters. Okay, and while we're talking about it, I'm going to pull out CD-ROM. CD-ROMs, almost every CD-ROM we have, I'm only going to say almost, are IDE connections. Okay, and they have the same thing. They have a jumper right there, and they all have little directions right there. It's currently on what?
It is on master.
Okay.
On the master.
Because it was probably master on the secondary IDE channel. Okay, so.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Easy peasy, easiest thing to mess up to. Okay, so that's my little jumpers thing. And I already talked about that. So just talked about this. If you have two cables, you can have two things being masters, each on a different cable. Okay. So that was it for how to connect them. Questions? The only thing I have on IDE, you have to set jumpers. On SATA, you don't, but just please be careful with that if you have any with those locks on. Okay. So we're talking about speeds. We're talking about speed of the hard drive and the connection. There's a whole bunch of different speeds to really talk about. Okay, when we look at hard drives. In fact, when we, well, let's talk about the basic speed. This is a picture of a hard drive. There's our spindle right there, which spins at a certain RPM, and then this right here is the seeker head that comes back and forth to find our data. Okay, so SATA is way faster. I'm just going to put that down right now. I already said that IDE, the fastest one, went 133 megabits per second, and we're so much faster past that. We'll look at those, and we're going to look at some different SATA connectors, how much faster SATA is than PATA, which is why we're trying to get rid of every PATA drive in the district. So our push right now is to pull every single PATA drive out of everything. So we had a whole bunch of them. And I'm trying to get rid of all of them to speed up our PCs. Okay, so how a hard drive works, it's got one or more platters, usually 3 or more, stacked together. The read-write head, right here, the head is right there on the end of an actuator arm, moves back and forth, the whole arm moves together. It's not like there's a whole bunch of like this, it's just one arm with all the heads moving together. Across that disk, and each side of that disk, in this picture, you can't really see it here. You know what? Let's go back here, because there were actually a couple good pictures on there. I just Googled hard drive. I saw one down here somewhere. There's showing the fact that in a hard drive there can be multiple disks, and on the top and bottom of each one, oop, I can't write on there, I don't know what I'm thinking. On the top and bottom of each one, let's, I like that picture, let's throw that picture.
Lost your data.
Okay, so on that drive there, this is just showing that data is all over the place on this picture, right? So, but there's a writable spot on the top and the bottom of each one of those platters there that we're writing to, okay? Oh, there's the drawing. Okay, each side has its own writable set, each head, and it's divided into tractors, and the outermost is written first. So let's look at the picture here. So there's a picture of one that's terrible. I need to take off that picture and put a better picture in there. And there's one showing how this whole actuator arm moves together, and there's read-writes on the top of each one, and they're written by that head. They don't actually touch it. Okay, and I don't really like this one, so I'm going to skip it because those sizes aren't really accurate anymore. The disk writes in little segments, and we're going to talk about how it breaks all those up into little tiny sections of data, and what fragmentation is, and how to fix and speed up your hard drive by defragmenting. When it writes data, it would love to write it like this and keep all your data together. But it can't, because you wrote something, then you deleted something, you wrote something, you deleted something. So over time, if you deleted these files, and then you go and you write something else, now it writes that here, here, and here, and then you went and you deleted something, and then it goes to write the next thing, and now it's writing it here and here. You can see what I'm saying. Over time, files aren't all together, okay? If a file is all together, it's called contiguous, okay? And if it's not all together, it's called fragmented. I'm jumping subjects here. A little bit, but the reason you need to understand that it's written in little sections and packets on the different sectors and tracks of a hard drive is that kind of helps you understand what fragmentation is. And a little fragmentation story for you. When I was in college, I worked for Dayton Power and Light as a programmer on a Clipper compiled database system. called the time of use billing system. And what this system did was we went to customers and we said, look, we will charge you 20% of what you're paying right now for your power if we use it between 8 o'clock at night and 6 in the morning. Any power you use between 8 o'clock at night and 6 in the morning is 20% the cost of the power you use from 6 in the morning to 8 at night. So, actually it may have been 7 to 7, whatever it was, okay? So, the idea was we're trying to push you as a consumer to do your laundry at night, to turn your hot water heater off in the middle of the, or to turn it on at night and turn it off in the daytime because they have hot water heaters for electric hot water heaters. Because if we can make you change your usage to use your stuff at night more, to do your laundry at night, whatever your high consumption power things are at night, then we don't have to build another power plant. Because if we could shift people's consumption to nighttime consumption, then we don't have to spend as much money. Because at night we're making power that no one's using. It's not like we can turn off the plant. Hey dude, hardly anybody's using any power, turn it off. Or we move, right? So we gotta keep that power plant going all the time. So there's unused power. Because it's not like when I make electricity, if you don't use it, it gets stored somewhere. It's just lost. It's just lost power. It's power that's generated that's not consumed. I'm losing money at night as a power plant. Okay, so if I can get you to use use the power at night, it's kind of free money for me because I was losing it anyway. So we charge you 20% of what you use at night. So our system, what it did was it took a power reading. You get read once a month now. It took it every 15 minutes. It took a reading of your power meter every 15 minutes. Every night it communicated that to our system, the one I was working on, that basically figured out your billing. And then gave you a bill based on, it was a time of use bill. Okay. So my system's taking in data every night on these 2,000 test customers to see if we could actually change their usage by billing them less. Okay, that's what the test was over. So I'm on the programming team. There's 2 other people on the programming team, and then there was, and I was an intern, and then we had another summer intern in another building, and all she did was print out the bills, fold them up, mail them out every day. By the way, she got paid more than me, which really kind of took me out. Yeah. She was an audio engineer in school, and if you were an engineer for them, you got paid a different pay scale. Okay, so I'm on the pay scale writing the system with everybody else because they had 2 pay scales: the non-engineer pay scales and engineer pay scales. Just total crock. Anyway, when I found out she was making $3 more an hour than me, I wasn't happy. Because all she's doing is folding paper. Anyway, so she printed them out in about an hour when the system started, and then would have the rest of the day to fold them and send them out. Okay, and about a month into the project, she calls me and says, "Hey, I'm starting them to print out today, and they're usually done tomorrow morning." I'm like, "What?" She said, "I start printing them." By 9 in the morning, I'm printing out the bills, and they're usually done when I get back in tomorrow. But if I forget to put enough paper in, then they're just stuck there waiting to print. And so I'm getting behind to printing and sending out the bills. And so we went in, I went over to the other building, and like, this does not make any sense. And I ran a defragmentation program, which took all the fragments of data that are all over all the sectors of this hard drive, and in defragmentation program puts them all back together. And it took, I don't know, 4 hours to run the fragmentation program, and then it took 35 minutes to print the bills again. Okay, because over time, every single day they're calling in data, and it's overwriting the old data because we don't care what the old stuff was every single time. We just want to know. So it's like getting more and more. All these pieces are getting thrown all over the drive. And then they look like crap. And I'll show you what I'm talking about if you want to see a visual of what fragmentation is. Let's see what, I don't remember what program I have on. Do I have Defraggler on here?
Doesn't Windows come with a defrag?
Yeah, Windows. think I have defragler, defrag. That was the Windows one. I could show you the Windows one. The Windows one, at best, is stinky. Yeah, stinky. It's not good. As many other tools are much, much better. In fact, this doesn't even show me. I'm just going to add defragler here real fast on mine. Doesn't mean I have to run it real fast. So let me see. Utilities. QPF. CC cleaner. There we go. Defragler's right there. Defragler is nice. If you have Windows XP, defragler is a really nice one. It's free. You really have to look when you're installing stuff to uncheck mark stuff. I just had somebody do that the other day. You know, anytime you get free software, there's a hop on that somebody else is paying. That for that free software to get there, you just need to watch. A lot of times it's Chrome, Google Chrome. Okay, so here's defragler. I'm going to turn off the other one because you can see it's still running and it hasn't analyzed the disk. I'm going to go ahead and pick this drive and I'll analyze it. And basically what defragler does, it gives me a much better visual picture of the drive than the Windows one does. In fact, I can see down to the okay, so everything in red. Right now, my fragmentation is only 11%, which isn't terrible. Okay, but it's not great if this was an operating system. But right here, I can click on there and I can see what's on there. This is just one file that's on there that's fragmented. This sector, look how many different files are on that sector that are all broken up. Okay, and if I go to the file list, my worst fragment, this file right here, is broken into 221 pieces. That's where that file exists on my hard drive. That's actually not bad. Okay, I've had some broken into thousands of pieces. Okay, and if you think about it, I'll explain fragmentation this way. Okay, now you guys both have to read an article from PC World Magazine. Okay, so the article's on page 27. Now, in the case of Thomas, I give him the magazine the way it is. Don't actually open on page 27. Okay, and in the case of CJ, what I do is I take all the pages out and I rip all the pages out and I lay them around the room in a random order. Okay, now based on the fact that you both read at the same speed, which is the 3rd grade reading level, and I say read the magazine, who's going to be done first? Thomas is, because he's going 27, 28, 29, 30. Meanwhile, CJ is running over there to read page 27. Then he's going to run over there to read page 28. Then he's going to run over there to read page 29. That's fragmentation. The file's still here in the room, but it's all over the place. So CJ has to keep running. Well, the hard drive's doing the same thing. It's going like this. And that's why sometimes you hear a hard drive going crazy when you're loading up a game or something. Because it's going, oh, holy crap. It's all over the place, okay? And all I have to do to fix this, I can, defragler lets me fix one file, by the way. Like if I know I want this Windows file, which broke into 17 segments, to be fixed, I can just defrag the highlighted one and go right there. I can fix that one file. Windows does not let you do that. It only defrags the whole drive or nothing. So I can fix one thing on this with defragler if I want to. I can schedule defragler, which you couldn't do with Windows XP's defragmenter. Well, you could if you knew command line stuff and how to set it up as a command line function through the scheduler. There was no easy schedule this for 3 a.m. button with Windows XP. We're not going to defragment the whole thing, so that's a big deal. Fragmentation is a big deal, and it's a big deal because of the way it's written on hard drive. Okay, to jump back to where I'm at. Okay, so hard drives are broken up into all these sections called tracks, and the track is the circular thing together, and then these are sectors that are broken up in the hard drive. Okay, so it'll be on track whatever, sector whatever. You don't need to know that. I mean, you don't really need to. We don't do. It used to be we had to know when I tried to fix a file. Back in DOS ages, if I knew the track and the sector, I could reconnect the file all together and try to fix it. Okay, we don't really do that anymore. We have tools that do it for us. Okay, we can choose what kind of file system we want. Okay, And so when I'm looking at my file system on my computer, there are different file systems available to us. Okay? Yep. Where did I just go there? Okay, there we go. So that's the computer that's the drive that I'm looking at right here. It's a drive that I'm looking at right here, and if you see, it says how much space is on there, but the big thing up top is the kind of file system. There's different file systems available. I didn't get a chance to put in the key, but I emailed you the key. So it's the 2010 professional edition that I installed.
Okay, thank you.
So this file system is NTFS, okay, for the NT file system. Okay, there are other file systems out there like FAT, which is a file allocation table file system. That was an older file system. Realize that there are different kinds of file systems, and sometimes, and this one's FAT32 that you're looking at right here. My throat's really sore. So when you format a drive, normally we use NTFS. It's more secure. But flash drives are usually FAT32. Okay. Just so you know that those are different names that you might see in the future. I'm not going to ask you any questions on that. Okay, so when we install a hard drive, we have to make sure there's a drive bay available in our computer. We have to set our jumpers if it's a PATA drive. Okay, we mount it in the bay, and then we have to go into BIOS to change the CMOS setup to make sure it shows up. Whenever we have a hard drive problem, the first thing you want to do is go into BIOS. Is it even there? Okay. Because a lot of times you guys will pull up your thing and you'll get an error that operating system not loading or operating system not present. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is go into BIOS. Does it even see the hard drive? If it doesn't see the hard drive at all, it could be as simple as I need to turn it on, because you have to turn it on in BIOS. If I don't have the hard drive on, it won't see it. I have to, in that BIOS right there, I have to say, you know, SATA 0 is on, or I won't even look at it. I'm pointing to the GX280 stack that's precariously sitting there, bothering Thomas. Okay? So we have to go into CMOS to make sure that's all set up. Okay? I meant to delete this. This one, it used to be, since I didn't delete it, it used to be that you had to do all these steps to set up a hard drive. That is not true anymore. Setting up a hard drive is simple. In Windows, you just put it in, you put in your Windows disk, and it goes and just reformats and sets it up for. The act of formatting is this act of actually setting up all those sectors. So when it says it has to format the disk, it basically has to go drive around the disk and set up the roads. Okay, it's kind of like if you had a big, huge, flat farmer's field that you wanted to make into a golf course. Okay, you have to set up the course first. You don't just start playing on it, right? Or you wouldn't get a lot of golfing done. You just be whacking a ball around. Okay, when you get a new hard drive, it has to be formatted. All the sectors and tracks have to be set up, and it's okay. I'm digressing, but when I set it up, you have the option. Have you guys ever installed Windows and had it format? Okay, when you put in a new drive and you install Windows and you tell it to format, it's going to say, do you want to do the quick format or the full format? Quick format means it goes to the very start of the thing and says, here's how big the drive is. Done! Okay? And it takes 30 seconds to quick format. That's why it's called quick. Okay? When you take a 1 terabyte drive, put it in a server, and you do a quick format, and you're like, all right! You take a 1 terabyte drive and put it in a server and do a full format, you gotta wait a couple hours before you can do anything else. However, here's the thing. When I do a quick format, all it does is say, okay, there's my boot sector, and by the way, just so everybody knows, the rest of the information goes here. Okay? But it doesn't actually go and look there. When you do a full format, it goes and it writes zeros to every single thing around the whole drive. And it goes and it does a full thing. Why would you want it to do that? Because when it's doing that, it's checking the whole drive. And if all of a sudden right here, it finds a bad section, it says, bad section, don't use that, and it keeps going. Okay? Because every hard drive has some bad sectors on it. None of them are perfect. I'm sure there are some that are perfect, but you know what I'm saying. And if Thomas did a quick format on his hard drive and then saved his research paper that he'd been working for months on, and it's saved to right here, research paper gone. Holy crap, what happened to my research paper? I swear I had saved it, so it's gone. Okay? Because if I did a quick format, my Windows never knew not to use that section. But if I did a full format, it would just go, and it would go, oh, can't write there. I'll write that section over here, and we're fine. So, I'm just telling you this, someday in the future, you're going to go to do a format on a system, and you're going to go, oh, I'm in a hurry. Okay? I'm in a hurry. Should I do a full format? Should I do a quick format? And it depends on what it's for. On a system that's going out, the student's using, it's a quick format. A server, it's a full format. I'll wait the hours. Because the last thing I want CJ to go and save his paper and have it gone. Okay?
Oh. That's why I save on my H drive and not some
And then I have to
little
explain
quick
to
formatted hard
students,
drive.
save to your H drive.
Okay, so when I install it, we need to prepare our work area, realize all these metal surfaces are sharp. I cut my hands all the time putting in hard drives. My knuckles right there. Okay, because inside here, these are not beveled metal edges that are safety protected for your enjoyment. They're just cut pieces of aluminum. Sometimes they're bent over.
Aluminum.
Okay? So be careful whenever you're working inside one of these cases because you can easily cut yourself up. Make sure you put it in a bay where it fits and try not to put them next to each other. If you've got a spot here and a spot here and a spot here, don't put two drives here and here. Put one here and one there. They get hot. Okay? So try to give them space. They make hard drive coolers to blow air across them. You could put a fan in the front of your bay maybe to blow air across them. Hard drives get hot. And every single time I've lost a hard drive, it's been doing overheat. Every single time. Okay? That server closet used to be so ridiculously hot, and they put this big, huge blower fan in there. We need to have the server room additionally air conditioned. In the summertime, I come in here and I always throw some kind of a fit at some point because they turn off the AC in the summer. Well, you know what? My servers are still running full blast. You have to leave the AC on in the library all summer long, whether there's somebody here or not. Unfortunately, there's not a separate AC unit in the server. As long as the library is cooled, the server room is cooled. But the server room is always 5 to 10 degrees hotter than the library. So if you walk in there and you're pouring sweat at 90-some degrees in the library, my server room is 100 and something. And I've had them go way above. What's the maximum temperature of a hard drive component before it fails?
185 degrees.
185 degrees! You're a winner! Woo! I've had them report way hotter than 185 degrees. In fact, I have a piece of software that can tell me right now the temperature of every single computer in the district. And I don't know if I installed it on the new server.
What a free iPad.
You should have.
I should have. I haven't played with it in a while. I don't know if I moved it to this one. I have to. You know what?
Specky.
I have to go to the support server. Let's see. It's on the support server. I don't log onto that one anymore because I just leave it running the support software. But it's called Newt. And if I do a Newt scan, it tells it. I feel bad even logging onto this one, but it's the way it is. Oh my gosh. Deleted my profile. That's how long it's been. Really? Oh no, okay. So you see Newt, there we go, Newt Professional. I bought the professional version. It has a free version, but the professional version tells me so much more. It'd be better if I had it installed on the machine I was using. I don't care about that anymore. By the way, we're doing great on time. I know this is a long class today. That's why I like going off on tangents. Doesn't hurt you to go. What's going on? There we go, Newt.
Newt.
Don't send that. I already closed it.
that.
Nobody sends those.
Who sends that?
Who sends an
I
album?
did one.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. Okay. So I got to do a scan. Let's see. can't see the top of my thing. There we go. So let's discover everything that's online right now. It's going to go through and it's going to ping every single computer in the district. And I have it full speed. Yeah, I got it full speed.
When you say district, you just mean the school, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I have it pinging everything that's every one of our computers. It's going to talk to and get a reply, and it's doing the scan, tells us all about what the machine is. You can see the machine's name, but one of the fields down here.
They're unused icons on your desktop.
Better use them.
It's
Yeah.
going to tell us the system temperature right there. See right there?
Yep.
I'm going to move that one down here. So we can see it right next to the name. It's going to shade it for me too. I don't care what the last user was. See, right? Get far enough so I can see the. Don't care about who the vendor Mac was. I still have it far enough.
So wait, this is going to show every computer's temperature right now?
Only the ones that have smart enough motherboards to tell us. And it's got, first of all, it has to actually, I should have cut down my number of PCs. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to minimize this and we're going to come back to it. We're going to let it scan and then we'll come back to it. Okay? We'll look at some system temperatures. It tells me, I used to look at that on a weekly basis. I don't have time anymore because I've got too many other things I'm doing. But I used to look at it every week. That's the way I know, hey, I got to go work on that person's PC before it overheats and their hard drive goes out. Because if all of a sudden it says the system temperature is 150 degrees, if the system is 150 degrees, how hot is the hard drive? How hot is the CPU? Because that's just saying the ambient air inside the case.
Way
Yeah. So, okay, so we want to make sure we set our work area up, take precautions, don't cut yourself when we're doing it. Okay, set your jumpers as appropriate. Here's a little picture showing the different configuration of the jumpers. Okay, slave configured, and this is with these pictures. And I already said every single drive is different, so you need to look. You can't get used to it. Okay, remove the bay, insert the hard drive. It should not move after secure. Don't stick one screw in it. Now you don't have to be crazy. You have to put 8. My personal preference is 3. 2 from the side I can get to and 1 from the side I can't. Okay? So when I go and look at this computer right here, we'll use this one as an example. Okay? I want it to be secured in there. It shouldn't be jiggling around, but that doesn't mean I have to go insane. Okay? So this side is the easily accessible side. I don't even know what's in this PC. We're open up. Okay, easily accessible. I can easily get 2 screws in there. Now this can actually, whoever screwed this one in did them all from the bottom. They did 4 screws from the bottom. That's almost crazy. Okay, so that's the easy one. In fact, this whole can comes out. So this is not the greatest example in the world of one. But you'll see if I go to the other side, if the can didn't come out, the side is usually something like that. So there's a spot where I can get a screwdriver through and screw it into. Okay, the motherboard side always has a panel like this with some holes. I want at least 1 on this side. Do I need to have 2 on this side? That's personal preference. Okay, it just needs to not be moving. And if I get 1 on this side, I feel like I've secured it enough with 3 screws. Okay, that's a minimum. Make sure you get at least 3 screws now. Okay, get the correct cable on there, put it securely in there, put the power connection on last, cover it back up, and then make sure all the motherboard connections are there securely, okay? And that goes for whether it's SATA or PATA. Make sure you have a power. One power. We talked about that the other day. Some SATA drives have both power connectors. Only one, not both. No more powers, okay? No more than one power. So I get it in there real nice. I make sure I've got the power and the data cable connected to both the power supply and the motherboard. Some pictures of us screwing it in and connecting up the cables. Make sure you connect the drive to the bay number you want, or I mean to the motherboard connection you want. The lower number is primary. So if you see IDE 0 and IDE 1, IDE 0 is the master, is the primary channel, IDE 1 is the secondary channel. If you say SATA 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you want to start with SATA 0. That's what it's going to boot to first. Okay? And in some cases, the BIOS only looks at the lowest number that has something connected. So if you put, like mine has, how many drives did we say were in mine? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, my computer has 1, 2, 3 drives in, okay? And if my BIOS only looks at C, and I put the operating system on D, I'll point to E, but you get my picture. So put it on the lowest number when you connect it up. There are adapters, I already showed you those. If you get a smaller drive size, okay, you can put adapters on it to make it fit inside your computer. And then make sure you set up the BIOS. This is a really ancient old picture of a BIOS screen. Obviously they're way better now than that picture. I should Google
That
a good.
looks so ugly.
Yeah, that's what they all used to look like too.
So when are we gonna check back on the temperatures?
Screen. We're gonna come back. Yeah, we got time.
Yeah.
Again, there's a more current BIOS screen that looks like what we are used to looking at, maybe a little bit.
Wow, so beautiful.
Well,
It's not very high quality. That's the one for the GX280 right there.
no, that's what I'm used to looking at.
That's
Okay,
that's
and
a
they're
commodity,
looking at the
so-
memory, and there's memory slots there, and you have to go down to drives down here and open that up to see that. I wish there was
Just
a
try clicking on it.
website with an. Yeah, no, I was kidding.
Like,
I wish there was a website with the interactive BIOS. I should look for that. Because maybe there is one. Okay, whoever finds a website with an interactive BIOS for me after today, before next class, gets bonus points on the next test, so I don't have to look for it. Okay, not now though. Not now. Not now. In fact, we're gonna stop right here at managing and troubleshooting hard drives. That's where we're gonna stop because we're almost done. We're gonna go look back at the power thing. Okay. So let's stop right here, and we'll go back and see what kind of hot. Ooh, look at there, 187 degrees
Holy.
on Cindy's computer. I need to get a different cooling fan in there. And you know why? Here's what she does. I'm gonna call down and tell her right now. She puts a heater right by her legs, pointing right at her fan, right at her PC, and her PC pulls
That is
air
crazy.